I, 56 male, have 2 children with my ex, a son, 32 male, and a daughter, 27 male. When they were kids, I had joint custody with my ex and had to pay child support to her. My son and I have always been much closer, and my daughter has always been closer to my ex. My daughter reminds me of my ex in many ways and has the same shrewd manipulative tendencies. I paid for my son's university expenses, but was not willing to do exactly the same for my daughter. I told my daughter I could pay for it, but to protect herself, she would have to sign a notarized contract. This contract would be beneficial to her, and I do not want to go into legal specifics, but it means that I would help her with university expenses up to a certain amount if she asks, and that later, after she finishes her undergraduate studies, at any time in her life, I would be allowed to ask her to pay me a large amount of money based on her net worth and the years that have passed. There is a maximum cap. She signed this document, and at the time, while I did not go into all the details with her, the notary who was did, and there were other witnesses. I ended up paying for her first year partially for university, but not the others, as she got an academic scholarship and other grants. However, I asked my lawyers, and as per our contract, she is still legally obligated to pay me if I ask for it, and I can sue her if she does not comply and would almost certainly win. It would not hurt my daughter significantly as she is doing well financially and has a good job as an actuary, and I know she was saving for a down payment. It would recover the child support related increases I had to pay that I believe my daughter convinced my ex to sue me for. My daughter and my son also do not get along very well, so it is not just me who has something against her. Would I be the a-hole for doing this since she agreed to these terms? You're a giant a-hole, one of the biggest ones I have ever seen on Reddit. I hope your daughter finds this post so that 1. She knows you don't love her, but that you do love her brother. 2. She can use this as evidence in court of why she shouldn't pay. Children do not ask to be born. That was your decision, and the cost for raising her was your responsibility. The fact that you'd sue so that you get your child support back is despicable. You're the a-hole, and I hope karma gets you good. You're the a-hole. That is disgusting. Tricking a teenager into signing paperwork in return for paying one tiny fraction of the bill you implied you would pay is vile. Your ex-wife and daughter clearly see who you really are, bankrupt and morally bankrupt. If there is a shred of decency left in your black and withered heart, walk away and never see the poor girl again. Yes, you would be the a-hole for suing your daughter for the money she owes you according to the notarized contract she signed. While it is true that she agreed to these terms, it's important to consider the context in which this agreement was made. Your daughter was a young adult who was likely under significant financial pressure due to the cost of attending university. It's possible that she agreed to the terms of the contract out of a sense of obligation or desperation, rather than fully understanding the long-term implications. Moreover, your willingness to pay for your son's university expenses, but not your daughter's, suggests that you may have an underlying bias against her. This bias may have influenced your decision to create a contract that would allow you to extract money from her at a later date. Suing your daughter for the money she owes you is likely to cause significant harm to your relationship with her, as well as with your son, who you admit also has a strained relationship with her. Instead, you should try to work out a more amicable solution, such as discussing the terms of the contract and coming to a mutually agreeable arrangement. My boyfriend of 6 years, Jack, and I decided to move in together. We both have children from our previous relationships. He has a 14-year-old daughter that we'll call Lou, and I have a 16-year-old son that we'll call Ethan. I have a one-bedroom home with a basement that I turned into a bedroom for Ethan, so we couldn't move in our home. And while Jack has a 3-bedroom home, he said he needed one of the rooms as an office since he works from home, so we had to find another home. We decided to sell our homes and buy one home together, and we finally found our dream home, and it has 4 bedrooms. 1 master bedroom, 1 bedroom with an ensuite, and 2 smaller bedrooms. The master room is obviously for me and Jack, and the smallest room will be his office. The issue is the other 2 bedrooms. Growing up in our home, the biggest room was always for the oldest child, so I assumed Ethan would have the room with ensuite, and the other one will be for Lou. Ethan loved the room. A few days ago I was talking to Jack and told him how excited Ethan is about having a bigger room and his own ensuite. He looked at me confused and said that room is for Lou, not Ethan. I told him that it's not fair because Ethan is older, so he should get the bigger room, and once he left for college, Lou can get that room. He said that's not going to happen because Lou always had an ensuite, and she is used to having it, and she shouldn't lose this. I was getting angry at this point, and told him she can survive from walking a few steps to go to the bathroom, and he sarcastically told me that Ethan can survive it too. And Ethan's last bedroom was way smaller than this, so it will actually be an upgrade for him, while for Lou, it'll be a downgrade. I told him it's not fair that just because my son didn't have a big bedroom before, he can never get one. To make matters worse, I was talking about buying new furniture for Ethan's room, since his furniture is too old, and asked him if he could help me a bit, and he told me he is planning to buy new furniture for Lou too, because this whole situation is very difficult for her, and he wants to make her feel better. He offered that he could buy new things for Lou, and Ethan can use Lou's old things. I blew up at him, and asked him if that's how much he cares about my son. He gets the smaller room and the old furniture, while his daughter gets the bigger room and the new furniture. He thinks I'm an a-hole for expecting his daughter to suffer for my son, but I don't think that is suffering. The bedroom is nice, and she'll only have to live there for 2 years, and the furniture is good enough. She doesn't need new furniture. The bedroom issue is tough, but the furniture issue should be fairly straightforward. They each get new, or neither does. The fact that Jack expects Ethan to get both the smaller room and the used furniture is an indication of how you can expect Jack to treat Ethan when you are all living together. What you do with this knowledge will determine how you should be judged. Everyone sucks here. Both of you are seeing your children as yours, that you have to advocate for against the other one. The logical thing would be they both get the small rooms, and the room with the ensuite is a guest room plus office. If one gets new furniture, they should both get new furniture. The solution here is to make the ensuite the office, and give the 2 other rooms to the kids. Whoever wouldn't get it would see it as proof of favoritism, and let the kids have a budget to redecorate and make it their own. But I agree. Your husband is trying to get a better deal, even if you both invested in the house. Ethan may not have had an ensuite before, but he had extra privacy, so he too is losing there. Not the a-hole. My daughter, 31 female, left our country and married a wealthy man, 36 male. She moved to another country in North America and has cut all contact with me, 56 female. She still talks to her brother sometimes, but she communicates mostly with my sister and my mom. When her dad died, she was living with my aunt while I worked abroad. I visited my kids every 2 years. My daughter has a lot of complaints and doesn't appreciate my sacrifices. She told me how she hated her name because she was named after her stepsister. My husband had 2 children from his first marriage. When we met, he was getting a divorce, but legally, they were still married. We got pregnant, and I didn't want his family to find out yet, so we gave my daughter and her brother the same name as her stepsister and stepbrother. She hated her name when she found out. She said I only gave her the name because we were hiding my relationship with my late husband. Her dad was married when we were together. He has 2 kids, Sarah and Jacob. We named my 2 kids Sarah and Jacob. My daughter and my son are also Sarah and Jacob. My daughter thinks her name was to hide infidelity, and she hated it. That was not the sole reason. I just thought someday it might make them close as siblings. Her brother, on the other hand, was okay with it. He's the quiet type of kid and always follows adult instructions. My daughter is the exact opposite. She always questions anything we ask or told her to do. When she was 6, her dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's. His health was failing and he can't work due to his illness. I left the country and work abroad to provide the best life I can for them. She is blaming me that she had to take care of her sick father at 6 until he passed away when she was 10. There was nothing we could do at that point in our life, but she can't understand that. She has always been hard-headed and opinionated, unlike her brother. She's a bit of a rebel. Everyone was expecting that she would fail in life and maybe be pregnant by some teenage boy since she never comes home and she's always in trouble in school. Surprisingly, she gets good grades. By 17, when she graduated high school, I told her that we have to put her brother to college and that we can't afford school for her anymore. She was angry. She thinks that she gets good grades while her brother needed a tutor. She believed she has a better chance of finishing college. I disagreed at that time. She was upset and ran away. She went to a city and lived with her friend. She managed to put herself through college. We remained in contact once a year until she married her husband. She blocked me on all social media and refused to take my call. I tried to reach her husband, but he is also declining my call. Her aunt told me that she told her she does not have a mother. She was also mad that her brother didn't finish college. She said it was a waste. It's not her money, so I don't know why she was mad about that. She sometimes sends money, but most of the time she sends it to her aunt. It upsets me that she sees her aunt as mother. I made sacrifices, and she wouldn't be where she's at without me. I hope there is a way for me to communicate with her to make her understand my sacrifices, especially now that she has a daughter of her own. Edit. I believe that putting her brother to college instead of her motivated my daughter to do well in life. She has achieved her dreams. I don't believe she would have if I financially supported her at that time, since she was a really bad teenager when she was young. Edit. Just to clarify, in our culture, it's expected for a son to finish college. We expected our daughter to marry well as their husband will take care of them. My daughter has always been too liberated and does not want to conform to cultural norm. She married an American and became more Americanized. She has stopped helping me financially since marrying her husband, whom I believe was the reason she stopped talking to me. I wish I could turn back the time and had put her to school instead. You were a cheat and a liar, used her as household labor, disrupting her education and social growth in a traumatizing situation as a young child, and now claim ownership of her success because you went and burned her education to the ground out of favoritism. How can she think you were a bad mother? It's inconceivable. A fair baby who was given the same name as her stepsister for disturbing and selfish reasons, who also dealt with parentification, a form of child A by modern standards, at the age of 6. And on top of that, you talk about her in the most despicable ways throughout your entire post. Plus, you favored her brother over her. All I know is I'm so happy to hear she is living her best life, and so grateful she realized how toxic her childhood was and went no contact so she can move on in a healthy way. First, why do you have the need to say she married a wealthy man like it was her best accomplishment? I hope you're not trying to mend your relationship with her so you can guilt her into taking care of you. Whatever happened to your husband's family? They weren't available to help him out while you worked abroad? You leaving her to take care of her dad could have been avoided if he had a relative to help out. I think you should let her be and let her talk to you on her own terms. My wife and I have been hit badly by the virus. She worked in the restaurant industry, which meant no work until 3 months ago, and I'm a landscaper, which also took a big hit because people in my area started doing it themselves, and I didn't qualify for unemployment. She looked after our children while I did food delivery and some landscaping, and recently I found work at a warehouse, evening shift, and she's going back to work at her previous employer, which is also evening shifts mostly. That means our sons, 4 and 2, have to be with a babysitter. Our old babysitter isn't working anymore, and also the money we make barely ever pays for one, so it's probably cheaper for my wife to quit and take care of them than hire one. My mom and her parents live in another state, and we are struggling financially. My sister moved to be in state after her work let her move online, so she could babysit a few times a week on the weekends or during the evenings, because my wife works evening service mostly, but she refuses to do it. My sister lucked out with her career and is making 6 figures without children, so she has been able to live large. And I asked her to do some babysitting, and that while we couldn't afford to pay her now, we should definitely help her in the future with childcare and other things. She basically said she isn't interested and dismissed the difficult situation of my family. I'm angry that she won't step up a little when her own family is struggling to pay the bills and can't find a babysitter. I told her she can't expect any help from us if she won't put any forward, and she snidely told me she doesn't need help and I'm always the one relying on her. She has been salty towards me since we borrowed $8,000 to buy a car a few years ago, and we paid her back $5,000, but it took us more time than agreed on because my wife got surprise pregnant and we couldn't pay her back until we were sure we could pay for the baby. By the time we offered her the rest of the money, she refused to accept it, but also she has told me she doesn't expect anything from me, and likewise, not to expect anything from her. $3,000 to disown her own family over money troubles is ridiculous in my opinion, but it seems she still hasn't forgiven me for that. I've apologized to her multiple times, but she has refused to be involved with her nephews. You're the a-hole. More specifically, you're a mooch. You didn't ask your sister to babysit. You expected her to. And when she declined, you threatened her, and now you're sad that you have no leverage. Unemployment is at an all-time low, and restaurants have been open for more than the last 3 months. Your excuses are weak. Take responsibility for your own family. If you can't afford childcare, you and your wife can work opposite shifts. Landscaping is rarely a night job, and bars are open late. You two can manage. You're the a-hole. Your sister is not a babysitter at your disposal. She has her own life, and you should accept it. You even borrowed money from her you didn't totally repay back, and you wonder why she doesn't want to help you. You're the a-hole. Unfortunately, your lack of family planning doesn't have anything to do with your sister. She is making 6 figures by her own effort, and doesn't have children likely due to not wanting to plan her time around watching children. It would be nice if she could offer some time to help you, but you are never entitled to her time. My 18 male, sister, 23 female, has always been insecure about her nose, and after having graduated college earlier this year, got a well-paying job and decided to get rhinoplasty. I saw this as pointless. In my view, when somebody's insecure about a particular feature, that feature is a symptom, not a cause. As in, insecurity is a mindset of not accepting yourself unless you meet some artificially constructed definition of perfect you and society have made up. Hating a certain feature is just a symptom of that inability to accept yourself. And even if you fix that particular thing, the mindset remains. It's impossible, or at least near impossible, to be 100% perfect. So there will always be something else that pops up for you to be insecure about, and on and on. You don't treat an illness solely by going for the symptoms. You go for the root cause, or else the illness will persist. Same goes here. The solution isn't getting rhinoplasty. The solution is to fix one's mindset. So I considered her rhinoplasty a waste of money, since in the long term it would only do so much. She got upset when I told her, and said I was a kid and didn't know anything. I responded that she had always wanted to visit South America, so she could have done that instead of rhinoplasty, and I could guarantee that the satisfaction from the rhinoplasty would fade, and she'd find something else to be insecure about soon. This upset her, but it's been a month, and I was right. Now she started obsessing over her eyes being the wrong size, and wants surgery for them too. I told her what I told her out of worry for her, but she thinks I'm the a-hole for not letting her go about dealing with insecurity in a way that ultimately will only harm her, not solve the problem, and waste a lot of money. You're the a-hole, no doubt, for all the babbling you did about how you feel. Your sister's choice to have surgery is only about how she feels. She made the right choice that was in her own best interest. You were utterly rude and disrespectful to make the comments you made to her. You get to make your own life choices, but you don't get to judge other people's decisions. And you are 100% wrong, by the way. Insecurities about oneself can cause great harm to a person's mental health status. By making such ignorant judgments on others, you are turning a blind eye to the soaring statistics of S, often linked to mental illness, particularly depression. So your sister was right. You are a kid and don't know anything. You're the a-hole. You're entitled to your opinion, but stop trying to act as if that one high school psychology class that you took made you an expert on the human psyche. You're wrong. And using your same rationale, no one should ever wear makeup, get braces, color their hair, etc. You're the a-hole. I know people who've had plastic surgery that was hugely positive for them. But even if you were correct, you would be the a-hole because it isn't your place to comment or criticize. You come off as self-righteous, mean-spirited, and obnoxious.